Alright, so it's almost 3 in the afternoon. Back on foot for the third time today. Getting some stuff done and see what I can find to eat for me and Mom at the store. If you've been following the channel, I've been playing The Last of Us 2 for the PS5. Kept getting killed. You know, they do, they add in a lot more in part 2. But I got to thinking as I was playing it, and I understand it's a game, it's fictional, and you can't add every realistic scenario to a situation. But, and maybe this is me, what's the word I'm looking for? Nitpicking, as it were. I apologize for the noise next to me. I'm walking past a car wash, so if you know, right? If you know, you know. But one of the things that I feel like they should really take out when it comes to 3, when it does go into production, is ammunition. Because if you want to take a bit of a real approach to that situation, going back to part 1, the 20-year time skip, in an outbreak like that, you gotta look at it like this, right? So people can get an understanding to see this video. I don't think there would really be that many bullets out there left in 20 years in an outbreak. I see, ammunition running out within the first 5, maybe 10 years. I don't think you would have that much ammunition still going on. It's still strong for 20 years. Not to mention keeping guns safe, as in keeping them clean, keeping them functioning. Because you would imagine, definitely within the first 5 years, you would start running out of gun cleaner, stuff that you use to clean guns with, and everything that comes with it. Especially when you want to take the approach of upgrading guns, right, and fixing them. A lot of buildings, I would say, would definitely fall in disarray and corroded. Especially buildings that ain't really meant to last long, especially when you don't have anybody for so long keeping up with maintenance work, because the elements of the outside world do eat up buildings, and you have to take in, termite damage as well into that, and, finding, springs and loaded parts, as it were, are not going to be functional anymore. Especially when you leave stuff sitting for so long. So, especially going into part 2, you're talking about now 25 years into the outbreak, there's still a lot of weapons, still a lot of guns. So I feel like in part 3, have it be to where you're not focusing on the gun aspect, because have there be, bullets are hard to find, and there's not too many people out there that can cast bullets or recycle bullets to recast them. And realistically, you can only do that for so long in real life to recast, recycle bullets until they will blow up your gun from the inside out. You can only do that for so long, especially when the tips start to kind of point, the round ring part of the tips from the bullet head connected to the case and start to point up a bit to jam up the gun coming out of the slide, out of the chamber. So I think in part 3, they need to focus more on crafting with melee weapons, knives, pointed objects, hand-to-hand combat, and focusing on upgrading and, mastering your skills with those in 3, and also add things more like handheld bows and crossbows as well. To where you have to focus more now on stealth with the bow, stealth with knives, and hand-to-hand combat with, I guess you could say, up and close and personal melee type of weapons, is what I would like to see in part 3. And how would you deal with clickers who are a bit more solid and hard to penetrate, like some of them were in part 2? So then you have to come up, okay, what type of materials can I use for blades that could penetrate with no problem, and arrowheads. You gotta think about that as well. I don't like go too out there with the ideas of melee weapons, but it's something to really think about and something I would like to see be done in part 3. Because in the apocalypse or in an outbreak, your 2 main groups of people you really want to keep alive are people who are doctors, nurses, people who know how to make medicine, right? People that know how to craft to make weapons and cast bullets and be able to repair and clean guns for a while. To me, those are your main important people that you do want to keep alive. Well, with that being said, y'all, hey, I'm out. Peace.